Hey everyone, it's Nina here from Auxiliar, Spain. Thanks so much for tuning in today. Today I have for you a brief overview of different programs that you can apply to in order to teach English in Spain. This is not a comprehensive overview. There are definitely other programs that you can apply to. I just happen to choose ones that are more popular or well known here in Spain. And also, I won't be going into a deep dive into each program. This is more just an overview in terms of application dates, fees, job requirements, application requirements, etc. And then we'll go into a little bit about how to choose which program is best for you. So let's get started. I will be talking today about Beta, CIEE, Medias, NALCAP, RVF International, and USETAM. And then after that, like I said, we're going to go over how to choose the one that's best for you. And after that, I have for you some quick tips about what to do once you've applied after you've chosen your program. Let's start off with Beta. So Beta is one of the cheaper options in terms of the programs that you need to pay for. There's a 190 euro non-refundable fee upon acceptance into the program. Their placements are primarily around Madrid, but they do have schools in other regions as well. The fall program application deadline is coming up on March 15th, so you'll want to get started soon if you decide to go with Beta, and their program runs from mid-September to mid-June. In terms of requirements, you are required to be a native English speaker or have a C2 English certificate. So this is great if any of you are not native English speakers but are pretty much fluent. C2 is the highest level that you can get. So if you have that certificate, you can apply for Beta. And like all of the programs, you are required to have a bachelor's degree by the start of the program. So in other words, if you are in your final year of university right now, don't worry. As long as you have your diploma before mid-September, then you are eligible to apply. In terms of job requirements and compensation, the hours range from 18 to 24 per week, so full 5 days probably. And also the salary range is from 900 to 1200 euros a month. So this is going to depend on how many hours you work. In terms of the supports that Beta offers you, they do have an orientation week. I couldn't find too many details about what happens during orientation week, but I imagine that they will help you in some capacity with documentation when you get here. So for instance, your residency card, which is a little bit of a hassle, but pretty manageable. And they also offer health insurance. Like all programs, you cannot teach English in Spain without health insurance. So if it's not listed on one of these slides, don't worry, all programs offer health insurance. Let's go into CIEE. So CIEE is definitely probably amongst the most, if not the most expensive program that you can apply to in order to come to Spain. But arguably you're getting a lot for your money. We'll get there in a second. But basically the placements are definitely all in Madrid, not Madrid center. There are some closer to the center, but there are others that are within the province of Madrid. So you might be looking at an hour and a half to just under a 2-hour commute if your school is located outside of the city center on the outskirts of the province. So just bear that in mind. This information is specifically for the fall program start date. CIEE does have staggered start dates. So they've got an early fall, which starts October 1st. And that's the information that you see here. That will cost you $2,350. And they've also got a late fall start date, which starts in November. Then they've also got a January start date. Now, those options are going to be a little less expensive because the program is shorter. So the deadline for the early fall start date is March 1st. So again, you'll want to get started on that paperwork soon. And then the program runs from October 1st all the way through June 30th. Now, I know it looks like a lot of requirements, but the essence of it is that you need to be a US, Canadian, or Irish citizen. And again, you have to have your bachelor's degree. And also, you cannot apply through CIEE if you have spent the previous school year as a language assistant. In other words, if you're a language assistant in Spain right now and you're looking for a program to renew in order to stay, CIEE is not feasible for you. In terms of job requirements, it is 16 hours, 4 days a week, and compensation is €1,000 a month. And in terms of offerings, again, you're paying a lot of money to CIEE, but what they do have is a full week of orientation. So during that week, you'll have workshops on apartment hunting, on banks, on phones, on your residency card. They also support you with the visa process before you come over to Spain. They've got webinars that you can also attend before you come on over, and they provide a hotel for you during that first week and some cultural events as well. Okay, so something to keep in mind. You can meet other language assistants if you're kind of nervous about not knowing anyone here. It's a good chance to do that. Next up is Medias. Okay, so this does have a refundable fee of €800. However, I recently learned from an Aux in this program that it is only refundable upon completion of the program. So something to keep in mind. Okay, placements are in private schools around Spain, private or charter schools around Spain. So this is a profile-based application, meaning that Medias is really looking for teachers who want to teach. Okay, this is different from other programs in that sense. So that's just something to bear in mind. Okay, in terms of dates, you've got a September, October start, also a January start, and then the school year will run through May or June. In terms of requirements for Medias, you must be a native speaker of English, German, or French. If you are a native French or German speaker, you also have to have a B2 level of English because you will be doing TOEFL courses that take place in English. You have to have graduated from a university within the previous 4 years, or you can have a postgraduate degree that's related to education or linguistics. The work week is a bit longer in Medias. It's 20 to 24 hours per week. There are a rare handful of assistants who have 4 days a week instead of the full 5. So something to keep in mind. As for the salary for Medias, it ranges depending on a variety of factors, including how many hours you work and how many students you have when you teach. There are situations where you can teach students alone, so it depends on how many students you are teaching alone, and it also depends on your housing choice as well, because they do have an option to stay with a host family, and so that will affect your salary as well. So something to keep in mind. So the program offerings include TOEFL training provided by university, which is a bonus if that's something that you're looking to obtain in terms of TOEFL certification or TOEFL experience. So something to bear in mind if you choose this program. And obviously, again, there's the health insurance as well as, some visa guidance before you come over to Spain. I'm going to take a quick pause here to ask you to subscribe and follow. Again, I'm not going into a deep dive in these programs right now, but I will be doing interviews with different Auxes who are in the different programs. And please give me a follow on TikTok and Instagram. I have videos all about my life here in Madrid. I happen to be in Madrid this year. This is my 4th year as an Aux, and so I am excited to share about my journey and to share tips and insights as well into how you can do it too and what it's like when you get over here, because man, oh man, is it an adventure. So make sure you find me on TikTok and Facebook. Okay, and up next is NALCAP. NALCAP is the free version of the Language Assistant Program, and it is the original version of the Language Assistant Program, as far as I know, because it is directly linked to the Ministry of Education here in Spain. So it's completely free. You don't need to pay anything, which is great. In terms of placement, placement happens all over Spain. And if you go to NALCAP's website, they'll give you a rundown of how many assistants they placed in recent years in each region, just so you have a sense of what your chances are of getting placed into that region. Obviously, Madrid having the most openings for language assistants. You are allowed to choose your top 3 regions. However, you are not guaranteed a placement. So this is something to keep in mind. And, you definitely need to have a little bit more of an adventurous spirit. Okay, so in terms of dates, the application was supposed to open up tomorrow. However, they just announced that it is delayed. So keep your eyes on NALCAP's social media. They are on Instagram. They are also on TikTok. Just make sure you bookmark their page and check it every day because they haven't announced when the application will open up since it's been postponed. And the program dates run from October 1st through the end of May for most of Spain. But if you are teaching in Madrid, you're going to be working through June. In terms of requirements, you are required to be a US or a Canadian citizen and have a passport from those countries. So just bear that in mind. And the basics again, bachelor's degree, criminal background check, that's the same for any program. Again, you need that to enter into Spain and to get that long-term student visa. And also, there is no age limit, well, above the age of 60 at least, which is really great. So if you're an older traveler and wanderer and you're ready to come on over, you can do it through the NALCAP program. In terms of compensation, you're working 12 to 16 hours a week. And your week is only 4 days long, which is great. 12 hours in most places outside of Madrid. Madrid, you're working up to 16 hours. And the salary range is from 800 to 1,000 euros. Obviously, 800 if you're working lesser hours, and 1,000 here in Madrid for the 16 hours and 4 days a week. Either way, you have those lovely 3-day weekends. In terms of what they offer for support, they do have their own NALCAP handbook. And in that handbook, you can find a little bit of information about your visa and the TA process, as well as some other paperwork that you have to do. And then there's RVF International. I actually hadn't heard of RVF International until I found out about it through one of the Facebook groups, which there are a ton of those. Definitely join those if you're not already in them. You do have to pay for RVF International. They have 3 different program options. And so really what you're paying depends on what option you want. Their basic program option has that support in terms of, getting ready for the visa, getting all of those documents together. And then obviously with the other programs, you're paying a little bit more until you'll get a little bit more support. So it depends on how much support you want, and that will determine how much you pay. In terms of placement, they are all over Spain. Application deadline, this is one of the later application deadlines, so it's not until April 1st, so you have a little bit of time for that, which is great. And then you've got an orientation for a few days, and then the program starts on October 1st, and it runs through the end of May. In terms of requirements to apply, you do need to be a US, Canadian, Australian, or New Zealand citizen, as well as, again, having that clear background check and having the ability and the eligibility to apply for the visa in order to come here to teach. In terms of job requirements, you're talking anywhere between 12 and 20 hours a week, 4 days, not 5 days. And in terms of salary, you're talking anywhere between 800 and 1,000 euros per month. Last but not least is USETAM. USETAM is actually a program that I used in my 3rd year as an AUX because I did want to be placed in Madrid. So they, again, have placements in Madrid, but similar to CIEE, you might have schools that are on the outskirts of the province or far from the city center. So, for example, my school was all the way by the airport, which is a little bit of a commute from the city center. There are no fees, which is great. And you are placed in actually schools that are called concertados, where the teachers can actually buy into the school. So the structure is a little bit different. And they're primarily based in preschools. So keep that in mind as well. Application deadline is coming up March 25th. Then you've got some days for orientation in September, and the start date is late September, and you're teaching until the end of June. Requirements, just that you're a native English speaker, okay, and that you have a bachelor's degree in any subject. In terms of job requirements, you're either going to work 18 or 26 hours a week. This depends on your school placement. And then your salary obviously will vary depending on school placement and the hours worked. Something to bear in mind is that you do have a mandatory training for USETAM, and that's primarily online, but you will also have 7 in-person classes. Now, for program support, again, I did USETAM, and they were really great at helping me navigate tense situations in my school. So that was really helpful, something to keep in mind. And if there is free lunch available to students, that is also available to you, which can go really a long way to have lunch provided for free every day. All right, and that's it for the quick overview of those programs. Now, the big question, how do you choose? Well, it depends on so many things, but I think there are 3 primary things that you really need to keep in mind, obviously, which are the citizenship requirements, the English level requirements, and finances, right? So we saw that CIEE, the price is a little steep, as well as RVF International. And so if you already feel like you're on a tight budget in order to save for the move, that's something to really think about and keep in mind. And something else that I did not put here that I should mention is deadlines. When I decided to move back to Spain, a lot of deadlines had already passed for all of these other programs by the time I realized I wanted to come back here. And so I really was kind of only left with 1 or 2 options to choose from. And that's what led me to choose CIEE this year. Now, the big thing that you also need to think about is your comfort level, or your ability and comfort level with being uncomfortable. What I mean by that is placement. I know that a lot of us come here really wanting to be in one specific place, or maybe we have our top 3 choices, and we really want our first one or our second one. If you want a guaranteed placement in Madrid, for example, then you're going to want to apply to programs that only have placements in Madrid, which means that you might be paying money, right? Because CIEE is one of those. And you also have to bear in mind that, again, even though you'll be in the province of Madrid, it doesn't mean that your school will be in the center. So this could lead to really long commute times. So something to keep in mind. Now, my first year in Spain, I chose the region of Andalusia, which is the largest region. And honestly, I had no idea where I would end up, but I kind of left it up to the universe and was like, you know what? I'm going to end up wherever I end up. And I ended up in this teeny tiny town called Linares Jaén that no one has ever heard of. And it was me and maybe like 4 other Auxes in the whole town itself. But you know what? I met some really great people. I traveled a whole bunch, even though I was kind of far away from other places, but I was right near the Renfe and the AVE, so I had the high-speed train to get to Madrid, to get to the airport. And you know what? It really was an adventure. And so I say that to say that it's important to kind of keep an open mind and be open to whatever is going to happen, because you might end up finding a real gem of a place. Next, program support. What I mean by this is that if you feel like you really want someone to kind of have your back and hold your hand through the whole process of applying, getting your visa, coming over here, getting your residency, etc., then you're going to want to pick a program that offers those kinds of supports. Now, on the other hand, if you're Again, feeling a little more adventurous, there are definitely ways that you can find that information online. You just got to kind of put a little bit of research into it, or you can follow me at Aux in Spain, and I will be sharing tons of tips and insights and tricks in terms of what to do when you get here, in terms of residency, housing, phones, banks, you name it. You will find it all on Aux in Spain. And lifestyle. Okay. So, what do I mean by lifestyle? Again, this depends on you and what you're looking for. If you are okay with long commutes, when I first came, I didn't want a long commute at all. But when I came again, and this time to Madrid, I was okay with a long commute because as a New Yorker, I'm used to commuting for long periods of time. So I was okay with that. And even this year, when I came through CIE, I was prepared for a 2-hour commute. I was like mentally getting ready for it. And again, that was just a choice that I made, knowing, okay, I might have this long commute, but for me, it's worth it because it means I get to live in a big city, which is what I wanted. So really think about, what you want your lifestyle to be. Do you want to be in a smaller, quiet town where you can really get to know the locals? Or would you rather be in a big city or have the possibility of being in a big city, but have that really long commute tacked onto it? Questions for you to think about. I hope that helps. All right, and last but not least, some quick tips. Apply to a couple of programs, depending on which programs you choose and their deadlines. What I mean by this is you don't want to put all of your eggs in one basket, especially if you're kind of coming in on the tail end of NALCAP, for example. If your application number is in the high thousands, there are no real studies on the probability of you getting accepted into the program and receiving a placement, but you might want to apply to USETAM as well, just to have a backup, okay? And hopefully it works out in terms of timing when you get a placement and when you have to accept that placement. Don't marry yourself to the idea of living in a specific location. I think when I came back to Spain, I married myself to Madrid, but it's also because I had lived here for 5 years before and I had lived in various places around Spain. And so I knew, okay, you know what? Madrid is definitely where I want to be and I want to be here long term. So for me, it's kind of my end goal. And so that's why I married myself to my location. But I think if this is your first year, I really encourage you to be open and to really just let the cards fall as they will, because again, you can end up having a really fantastic adventure. And check the expiration date on your passport. I cannot stress this enough. It's great that you already know before these applications are opening up or just as they're opening up that you want to apply. But again, if you're coming in at the end, towards the end of these application processes, just make sure you take a quick look right now at your passport to check that expiration date. Most of the requirements are, at least for US citizens, that your passport has to be valid 3 months after you leave the country or finish teaching. In other words, like if you're teaching through until June, then you want to make sure that your passport is valid through July, August, September. Okay, so check it out now. And if you need to renew it now. And last but not least, start saving money now. Cannot stress this enough. Okay, it's a big move that you're about to take. So whether you're paying for a program or you're going through NALCAP and it's free, start saving your pennies now because when you get here, you need to pay a deposit. You might need to buy a little bit of furniture. You're definitely going to have to buy linens like towels, sheets, etc. You're going to have to look for an Airbnb or a hotel, to stay in while you're apartment hunting. And then on top of that, you just want to travel, right? And so really start saving money now. Set a goal for yourself. I want to save X amount of money by this date before I fly out to Spain, and really work towards it because it will definitely be worth it. Some programs you won't get paid on time. My first year, I didn't get paid until December. But I knew that going in. And so, I made sure to come with solid savings to get me through those first few months. either way, whether you go through a program that is known for paying on time, you still want to come in with a good amount of savings. All right. And that is all. I hope that this information is helpful to you. I will have the links to the different programs in the description below. And again, if you are feeling adventurous, if you are excited, if you want to know more about what it's like to teach and live in Spain as an Aux in Spain, subscribe to my channel, find me on TikTok, find me on Instagram. I'll put those links down below as well. And I hope to see you soon. Hasta la próxima. Chao.